Working at Google is a dream for many, myself included. And rightfully so, all those day in a life of Google engineer videos look really dope. But how do normal people like us get into Google? Isn't it for smart people only? But what if I tell you that I went from 29,000 rank in JEE mains to Google intern in my third year of college? And I have not become smart or anything. Once an idiot, always an idiot. So I welcome you today as I dissect how one can get into Google as a software engineer and why it is easier than you imagine. Okay, so getting into Google as a SWE software engineer is mainly a two-step process. The first is getting the interview, and second is passing those interviews. And they are infamous for asking tough data structure and algorithms questions, DSA, but we'll see if that's true. Then there's another step, and that is getting rejected and trying again. Before I explain how to get the interviews and pass them, you need to understand that there is plenty of randomness, and that can be due to many reasons. But because of this, you can be rejected at any point of the interview process. So, trying again is extremely important as it minimizes the chances of being rejected due to luck. If your luck based rejection is like getting a 6 on a dice roll, then if you apply 5 times, then getting 6 all those 5 times is very less likely. There are more chances that you are just born smarter. So, with that out of the way, the first, getting the interview. Now, the first step, getting the interview, is arguably the toughest step. And that is because there's a lot that is not in your control. Now, to get a job, ultimately, you have to go to their careers portal and click on that shiny apply button and on the job opening that you want to select. But before applying, try to have two things: a good resume, and second, a referral, because everyone have a referral these days. So let's talk about them. So first of all, how to get a good resume. Uh, First of all, choose a good resume template. On Overleaf, do not do it on Google Docs or something or Excel sheet. Do it on Overleaf, and I recommend these two. They will be on the screen based on how much content you have. If less, use the single column. If more, use the double column. If you have relevant industry experience, put it on the top because that is what matters the most. If you don't have that, then your education background is quite useful. If you don't have a relevant degree, or your degree sucks, or your college sucks, or your GPA sucks, don't worry, because other than education, your projects also help a lot, arguably more than resume for a lot of applications. I'm not entirely sure for Google. That actually depends on the recruiter itself. So try to make projects. For SWE, I recommend web-based projects because that's what you do mostly as a software engineer, and they are very relevant to the industry. But don't put any tutorial project like a to-do list or a social media website or Amazon. Don't put those things. Try to make you something your own, and it would be great if you can put some metrics like I had this many users and this many page visits or something like that. To get that, you can put Google Analytics in your website, and then you can. Then you might be wondering like how to get those users. To get those users, you need to have a network of people. How do you get a network of people? You post on LinkedIn and Twitter. So see, there's a lot of cringe on LinkedIn and Twitter, but it is undeniable that building network there can be very useful. As they say, your network is your net worth. So the better network you have, the more it will help you. And how to grow that network is simple. You post your achievements, post your uh, something interesting that you're doing, or just some interesting insight that you learned to grow your network. And this network can get you a lot of opportunities, like Google itself or something better than that. So I really stress on that, especially if you're not from a good college. Because the thing is, network matters. If you're in a good college, your alumni and seniors are already a very strong network. But if you're not in a good college, or if you're not in a college, then to get a network, Twitter and LinkedIn are very useful. Okay, so that was how to, have a good project and also network. Now, for resume tips, there are many things I can say, like having concise bullet points and having an impact based points that you should focus on impact basically. But I would recommend you watch this video. It would be on the wherever in the screen, uh, by Google itself, like what they look for a resume. And you can also get some more insights from online resume parsers like Resume Worded and VMock. So when you parse your resume there, they will give you a score. Don't take that too seriously. I had 45 score. But what you have to take seriously is the insight they give. That is your resume having too many redundant things, or is your language bad, or are you using some jargon? So all that kind of stuff you can get from these websites. All right. So now you have a resume. Now before applying, ask for a referral on LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever you have a network of people. I asked for I asked for referral from Discord. So I knew a person, so he gave me a good referral. Now, whenever an opening comes, that's when you ask for referral. But at that time, the connection request of people working there is flooded with requests. So what you have to do is connect with them beforehand so that when a opening comes, you can directly message them. Or this is like on LinkedIn where you should mostly get a referral. On Twitter, most of those professional peoples are not active. I would say the open source community is more active on Twitter, and the Web3 community, whatever that is. So yeah, ask on maybe I mean connect on LinkedIn beforehand, and once the opening comes, DM them your introduction. And by introduction, I don't mean your hobby and why you like football. I mean, what are your relevant achievements in tech? Are you a candidate master on code forces? Are you a open source contributor on Kubernetes or whatever? Tell that, then tell them the job ID, give them the job link as well, and your resume as well. No one has time to open your profile. No one cares about you. Okay. So make sure to give them everything in that one single chat message and ask to refer you. Now, don't just ask one person, ask many people. Someone will refer you, then take that referral. I mean, you'll get a mail on Google and on your Gmail, and then all you have to do is accept that, and then go to Google's career portal and apply with that referral. Also, you might be wondering, why will people give you a referral? There are two things people look for referral. So one is obviously your general competence. Are you from a good college? Are you having some good previous experience, or do you have good projects? So basically your general programming competence. But there's another thing that people look, and that is your coding profiles. So by coding profiles, I mean where you practice DSA. And let me give you the rationale behind this. You might be thinking it's kind of irrelevant. Who the hell practices these things for no reason, right? Let me give you the rationale. So the people have an incentive to refer, and that is if you get selected, they get paid. So they want to select people who can actually crack those interviews. And who can crack those interviews are the people who have practice in DSA. So they do look for people who have uh, experience solving DSA problems, and how you can good in, and how you can give an impression that you are good at DSA. That is by having coding profiles like LeetCode, or if you are a hardcore nerd, then competitive programming websites like Codeforces and CodeChef. Actually, CodeChef, yeah, I was gonna clown on CodeChef, but no, CodeChef is also fine. Now, with that said, uh, now this is mostly for lower to mid squeeze. As you go to higher levels, which is like 5+ years of experience, DSA starts to matter less and less. But by then, you would not uh, need this guidance. You would be way beyond the scope of this video. Anyways, uh, like I said, ask for referral, and once you have the referral, apply. Now, after you have applied at the opening, there are two things that can happen. One, you get rejected. Second, you get accepted. If you get accepted, there are two things. One, you can directly get the interviews, and the other is you get an online assessment, OA. And those online assessments are usually DSA based, where you are given DSA problems, usually tougher than the ones that appear in interview, and you have to solve them. Now, if you get these, you have to obviously solve them and solve them fast. Now, how can you cross these online assessments? It is simple. Practice. You want to practice GSA problems. The more practice you have, either on lead code, competitive programming websites and stuff, the better chances you have. There's no way around practice, okay? Unless you want to cheat, in which case you're on your own. Now, having CP experience really helps at this stage because I don't know about the international hiring scenario. Actually, I do know, but I know for a fact that in India, at least, the hiring online assessments are becoming more and more CP oriented because of saturation. And so there are many companies like ShareChat, Media.net, Zeta, which asks heavily CP oriented problems. So having that can really help. So it's like, in some companies, you have no chance of getting accepted without knowing their tech stack. Similarly, in some companies, you have no chance without having CP experience. Now, while the ultimate key to getting good at CP is practice, no other way around it, unless you want to cheat, in which case you are on your own, there are many things and advices that I can give as a candidate master, ex candidate master, whatever. But that will be another video because there are many things that I can tell. So if you're interested in that, I'll be making a video, so make sure to subscribe so you can catch that. Either you were unlucky and had to do OA or not. Now, if you reach the interview, what do you need to do? Now, you can have different type of interviews. There are mostly two types, DSA and Googliness, which is behavioral interviews. I'm talking about SWE, so there's mostly DSA based, but there are other profiles like application engineer where you are also asked some systems design. So the point is you have to research like what will be the contents of the interview. And Google is a very nice company. They actually tell you what the interview will be based on, so you can prepare very well. And if they don't tell you, don't hesitate to ask your recruiter. And if your recruiter also doesn't tell you, then check for previous experiences of people, what were they asked. Now, I'll be covering the most major type of interview and the most dreaded interview, that is GSA based. And if you don't prepare for them, you're gonna hate them and complain about them on internet. However, if you do prepare for them, you're still gonna hate them and complain about them on internet, but this time you'll have a Google offer in your hand. Now, for the preparation, you have to either grind lead code or do competitive programming. But the main thing is you have to solve problems. If you have time, I recommend solving random problems and doing contests. However, if you don't have much time, or if you had time and you did that, even after that, what you have to do is start solving some classical problems like merging two sorted arrays in a one space, deep cloning a random linked list, or all that crap that no one likes, and also some previous years. I am saying previous years. I mean previous interview questions. So yeah, that's basically all you have to do. By the way, if you're considering solving a DSA sheet for practice, hold on a minute. Okay, if you have time, do as I said. Practice randomly and do contest. When time is less, then orient your preparation towards the company, which is Google, and also classical problems. However, if you don't have much time, then I would recommend going through only this sheet by Striver because that's the only one I can vouch for that I know isn't half bad. Now, this is not what you think. Doing just these problems would not uh, let you get selected, but you have to properly understand them and also practice some more problems. Otherwise, your chances are not very good. And to an experienced competitive programmer, this sheet is like less than a week worth. And the point I'm trying to make here is that either you're an experienced competitive programmer or a lead coder, if you have experience, preparing will not take much time. Now, I know what I said might sound like hard work, but I never said that you would not require hard work. You just don't need to be smart. You can just hard work your way. And that's like for everything in life. But uh, I have said a lot of things like you have to work hard, but the thing is, you can also get lucky. Right? You can also get lucky, and interviews can be much simpler. And interviews are very simple. It's just you have to prepare for the worst case scenario. So even if you don't have a very strong preparation, you probably have a very good chance of getting selected. And again, if you lose, you can just try again. No one cares. Anyways, now that you have messed up your preparation, make sure to go to the interview with an optimistic outlook. In a DSA interview, you're asked DSA question. And while you should ideally solve it, that's not the only judging criteria. They also judge you on the basis of how you solved the problem, like what was your thought process, how you tackled things, how you communicated everything. So make sure to keep the interviewer on the same page as you. Communicate everything as clearly and concisely as possible. What many people do is they borderline mute themselves, go and like solve the problem and then come back and then tell the solution. Don't do that. This looks like you have cheated, and even if it is obvious that you didn't cheat, it's not a good communication. So you want to avoid this. You want to keep your interviewer on the same page as you. And what because what matters more is not the solution, it's what how you reach the solution. Now after you reach the solution, you have to code it because that's what they are hiring you for, coding. So make sure to code in a very nice way, make a readable uh, function names, good variable names, uh, separate the logic into different functions, and use oops, that is classes and inheritance, if it makes sense. If it makes sense only, okay? Like let's say you want to use a disjoint set. A good way would be to abstract away a disjoint set in a class of itself and then use it in your main function. So, and also you have to code in a thing similar to Google Docs. So if you can practice a little bit there, that can help. If you're stuck somewhere, make sure to ask the person for help and clarifications. They're there to help you through the problem. Now, obviously, they're not going to tell you the solution or anything, but they are there to help you. It is actually kind of a team effort in solving the problem where you are the main character. So, and then they judge you how you like interacted and all that. So, that's what you have to do. Do not hesitate if you think that the time is slipping by and you're not near anything. And also, many times the questions given to you are vague. They want to test if you can scope out the actual question. So you have to ask questions and clarifications to get the correct problem. And that's pretty much all you need to know about DSA based interviews. There are many Google mock interviews on YouTube, while many of them are misleading because a literal legendary grandmaster of code forces is doing them. Many of them are useful. Even the one with William Lim is also not bad. I mean, I called it bad is because the level is ridiculously different from us. So it's kind of hard to do it like him. But yeah, you can still learn a lot of things from his videos as well. Now, I'm sure you have some more doubts in your mind, and I would recommend you to not YouTube it, Google it. Okay, Google it and you will find it. Okay, because as a programmer, Google is your best friend. I mean, the search engine. The company isn't half bad either. I mean, it's pretty good working here. So yeah, use Google to find your answers. And this is a challenge. Find the best tips for googliness rounds of Google and comment it down below. The best answer will be pinned, considering this video gets any views. Okay, so now your interviews are over. Now relax. You've done all you have could. And now start preparing for other companies if you don't have any offer. Because, like I said, there's randomness. You can even get the offer and then have it revoked. But although Google doesn't really do that, but many other companies have done that. And so it's always better to be safe than sorry. And with that said, good luck for your preparation. Hope to see you as a colleague in Google. And if you do see me as a colleague, then make sure to give me the best peer review that you can.